Hi, in this video we'll be continuing with the C# video tutorials. In this video we'll be going over structures. So you can group several variables together into a single item known as a structure. So I've talked about these in the C programming tutorials on my channel in the playlist if you're interested in that. So we'll just have some notes here. Alright, so we have structures. So it allows you to create custom data types for your programs. Each variable, so let's just note this stuff down. So structures allow you to create custom data types for apps or whatever programs. Each variable in a structure is known as a field. Fields in a structure can be of different data types. Oops. So the generic form, so basically just the general notation to declare a structure in C# is, so you just call the struct keyword, and then here it's the structure name. And you just open a block, and then basically you'll have public field declarations here. The struct is a keyword, public is an access modifier or the access modifier. You can declare a structure outside the app's namespace. Inside the app's namespace. Inside a class. And inside another struct. So we'll do an example. So for example, a used car dealer app needs the following variables. We need a string make, int year, and a double mileage. So you can organize them into a structure, for example, struct automobile. So you can capitalize it or not. In this case we'll just capitalize it, so automobile. So I've done the same variables here, just added with the public access modifier. I believe you might need that depending on your IDE. So we'll just do some examples. So once you create your struct, then you can create one or more objects of the structure. So for example, you could say automobile. For example, you could have like a Mustang here or something. Then here you could have automobile. Sorry, you have to capitalize it in that case because we capitalized our struct ourselves. So then here we can say that we have like a family car, like minivan or something, and then we have like a RV or something, whatever. So in this case we're initializing two automobile variables so two variables of type automobile. You can also use the new keyword to create instances. Or instances just mean objects. So for example, we could say automobile. We could say like Mustang GT points to new automobile. Or we could say automobile Mustang. Let's go with the 4.0 points to new automobile as well. So we're saying that we have an automobile, and then our variable name or object name is Mustang GT, and we're pointing it to an automobile object as well. So this is the object reference, equal sign points to, and then the object. Well, we have to include the new keyword and then with the object at the end, the object type. So that instantiates us an object named Mustang GT or whatever. Okay, so to access accessing a structure's fields, you can access a structure's fields using the dot operator to access values. Excuse me. You can access a structure's fields using the dot operator to assign values to or retrieve values from fields, for example. So we can have automobile, for example, Mustang points to new automobile. We could have another one. We can assume that we haven't declared this already, so we could just comment these out. So then here we could say, to remember, our struct object has 3 fields, right? So here we could say that, well, the Mustang has a make, it has a year, and has a mileage. So we could say, okay, well then we have our, we're going to call our Mustang object, or our object in this case, and then call the string make on it, point it to, for example, Ford. And then here we could say, for example, Mustang dot year points to, for example, we could just say like 2007. And here we could say, so we could say that we have a Mustang dot mileage and point it to, for example, like 7,000 kilometers or something. Or you say it's like 7,000 miles. We'll just have a. So remember, our mileage is. Sorry, this should be an int should have a literal here, and then a string should have a string literal, but be between 2 double quotes, and then here we should have a double. So you could have a 0.0. You should have a 0.0 at the end, or some kind of decimal. Not a decimal type. I mean like just a standard decimal point, like a period. So to retrieve the fields, you can also say, for example, message box dot show. We could say, for example, Mustang dot make. That's a string. You could cast the rest to a string. So you could say message box dot show. You could try this and see if it works. It should work. So you should just you could just say, for example, that you want our Mustang.year, and then we want to call the toString method on that, just like that. And here we could say, for example, that we have messagebox.show. We want to pass, for example, Mustang.mileage. I'm going to call the toString operator on the toString method on that as well. So you can assign one structure object to another using the equal sign operator. So for example, you could say that you have for example, car 2 and point it to Mustang. We'll do some examples of that later on. So you can have also an array of structure objects. So you can have an array of struct objects. So for example here, we could have another example. We could say that we have a constant int size. Whoops, we could point it to, for example, 5. And we could say that we have an automobile array. We can name it, for example, cars and point it to new automobile. I think we're assuming that we already have this this one up here, the struct declared. So I believe we're still referencing that. So automobile, now we're creating automobile array type, naming it cars and pointing it to a new automobile object struct. In this case we'll have to, actually that's wrong, we'll have to pass in here a new automobile and then we'll pass the size, just a standard array declaration, or instantiation. So then here we'll say that cars of array index 2 point or dot mileage. You can access it using the subscript or the index. For example, you could probably just set it to something. Not it. So I believe each index would have all the fields. So we'll be doing an example on that to show that later on. So you can also create loops to access the array. So for example, we can say that for int I points to 0, I is less than cars.length I plus plus. Then here we can say, for example, that we have cars of array index I dot year points to, for example, 2016. Or we can change that to like 2012 or something. Okay, so we have for int I points to 0, I is less than cars.length I plus plus. We're saying that the car of array index I, and then in this case we're saying dot year. So the dot year field, because remember the struct that we have, each index has these 3 fields, so it's kind of confusing. It's a little bit tricky. Excuse me. Not all programming languages have structs. Just C pretty much. So you have to practice it a little bit more. Rather than, for example, most programming languages have arrays, so arrays are easy to use. So it's kind of like it's like a special, very special part of C. Okay, so to store structure objects in a list, you can say we can assume we have a list, but we'll do an example of this coming up. So this just assumes that we have a list in this case. So we could say that for each, you could say that we have automobile. We could say that we have a car in cars. We could say car in cars, whatever. Car in cars. Then here we can say that we have, we can assume that we have a cars list, or a car list, and then add car.make. So that'll conclude the introduction to structs. Don't worry if you're confused, and we'll be doing some labs coming up. In the next video, we'll be doing we'll be talking about enumerated types. So thanks for watching, guys. If you guys like the video, you can like and subscribe to support the channel for more programming and investing tutorials. And in the next video, we'll be going over enumerated types. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Thanks.